Hi, this is Nathan. You're watching Nice at Dice, and this is my month in gaming for April 2020. Basically, a brief video where I review my gaming experiences from the past month and give you kind of my impressions of games that I played and let you know what I might be working on. So, I played a number of games last month in April. One of them being Bottom of the Ninth, which is a card and dice game about baseball. I didn't play the physical game. I played the mobile app implementation of it. It seemed interesting. I'm not a big baseball fan, so there's that. The gameplay itself is kind of a mix of like sort of guessing what your opponent's going to do and then rolling some dice and trying to make the best use of the results you get on the dice. So it was an interesting thing to try a couple of times, but I can't see myself going back to it. If I was a fan of the sport, and so it kind of appealed to me in that sense, I could see it maybe being a better game. But for someone who's not a fan of the sport, there wasn't enough to the actual mechanisms of the game to really appeal to me. Although I do like the fact that it was a very quick game. So it took a sport that can take, hours to play, and it made it into this very short, compact experience. So I will say it was good from that perspective. I played a game called Legacy of Dragonholt, which is sort of like a read-along storybook kind of thing where you read a story and you make choices as you go, and you get different results depending on the choices. And you start out by creating a character, much like you would in an RPG, and that just kind of informs maybe how you'll make decisions, but it also gives you certain abilities that might open up different choices for you as you play the game. I only played the introductory scenario, which was pretty straightforward, but it was okay. So my overall impression is like they're trying to create sort of a D&D style role-playing experience without a GM or a game master. And it seems like it could do that well. It's kind of hard to judge just from the first experience. I did enjoy it, but we'll see. If I had to judge it just on the first scenario, I'd say it's very passable, but it might get better as it goes. We'll see. I can see that there's potential there. I also played Pandemic Rising Tide, which was new to me. It's a variant of the game Pandemic, and this one you are like in the Netherlands, and you're trying to control floodwaters instead of trying to control the spread of disease. So very different theme, similar mechanisms to a point, but a lot of twists on those mechanisms that made it a very interesting game. I also played Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, Pandemic Iberia, two other variants on Pandemic that I had played before, but it was nice to get them on the table again. And then Chronicles of Crime, which is a very interesting cooperative, like murder mystery type of game. And this is probably the third or fourth time I've played the game now, and one thing that I kind of like baffles me is my games are consistently about like 3 hours long, and it's the kind of game that supposedly you can complete a case in like an hour. So I don't know what we're doing wrong that the game always goes that long. I always enjoy the game, but yeah, it's just I don't know why it takes us so long to solve these mysteries. And a couple of other games that I had played before. So that's games that I had played. Something that I've been working on is there's a role-playing game system called Fate. It's a generic system you can use to play like any genre, any setting that you like. And there's a smaller, like slimmed down version of it called Fate Accelerated. And I've been using this game to play sort of play an RPG with my nephew that's kind of like inspired by, but not exactly Star Trek. So I've been using that for a little while. I've gotten kind of familiar with it. And then I recently picked up this, which is the core system, like the full version of it. So you can see there's a bit of a difference there. next to the accelerated version. So I picked this up and I read through all this last month in April. And so I've been doing that for kind of two reasons. One is I would like to maybe sort of expand what I'm doing with my campaign, my sort of Star Trek campaign, and bring in maybe some more nuanced rules for like the different alien species and the starship and like ship-to-ship combat, things like that aren't really addressed in detail in the accelerated version. So I'm kind of reading it from that perspective to try and look for things to use in that campaign. But I'm also reading it because I have a campaign, like a fantasy RPG that I played years ago, but I developed like an original setting, fantasy setting for it that's kind of a cross between like the Grimm's fairy tales and Arthurian legend. And I had some fun with it, and I think it's an interesting enough universe that it would be cool to play in again and maybe share with other people. So I was sort of looking into the idea of creating just like a source book for that setting, basically just writing up a detailed description of that setting and creating rules for different things that I used in that setting and publishing that as a supplement for an existing RPG. Now, when I played that game, when I played that campaign, I was using I started out with D&D 4th edition, and then I transitioned into Fantasy Age, which is a system that I really like. But there's no way for me as an independent creator to create something for the Fantasy Age system and make it available to the public. Or at least not to be able to publish it for any kind of profit. However, with Fate, that is totally possible for either Fate Accelerated or Fate Core. I, as an independent creator, can be licensed to create and publish my own supplement for that system, and it doesn't require any big investment on my part, money-wise, except just to whatever I put into creating my actual product. So I've sort of been reading the Fate Core system and some of the existing like setting supplements that are already out there from other people to just kind of get an idea of what can be done with that system to really think about if it's a viable option for me to kind of develop my setting as like a setting supplement for that system. So that's kind of what I've been working on as far as my own game design / development projects go. I've also put out a bunch of videos on the channel this month. I did a video called How Many Games is Too Many Games, where I just kind of talk about why I'm trying to sort of shrink down my collection of games and some of the principles that I have in mind as I do so. And then I also did a video called Watch Me Play, where I just recorded myself doing a solo game of Pandemic Rising Tide. And I did it kind of spur of the moment. I didn't know if that was anything people would enjoy, but it seems like people are enjoying it. So I did another one, Watch Me Play Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. And then I also put out reviews for both of those games. I will say, and normally I don't do this, but I've had a lot of time on my hands to record some extra videos. So I will say coming up next week, you're going to see a video, Watch Me Play Pandemic Iberia, and then a review of that game, and probably some more Watch Me Plays and reviews in the coming weeks after that. Anyhow, my name is Nathan. This is Nice at Dice. Thank you for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day.